Welcome to LabTech Software, Concepts and Fundamentals for Onboarding, Module 1, Installation and Setup. This is Module 1 of a 5-part series for onboarding training. Module 1 includes the following topics: Installation and Setup Instructions, Mail Redirector Overview, Understanding the Control Center, how to change the system password, how to change the admin password, user setup, and client overview. Welcome to LabTech Software Installation Instructions. Server requirements. LabTech can be installed on a Windows Server 2003 or 2008 server. Note that if installing on Server 2008, all IIS-6 compatibility must be enabled, and IPv6 must be unbound from all NICs on the server. The LabTech server must have Internet access, both to access the LabTech licensing server, as well as for agents in the field to be able to report in to LabTech. Port forwarding will need to be configured to direct traffic to the LabTech server on port 80, as well as port 70. For a full list of ports that need to be forwarded, consult our LabTech documentation website. Left-click on the Start button on the LabTech server. Left-click on All Programs. Left-click on Internet Explorer. Type www.labtechsoftware.com in the address bar and press Enter. Left-click on Download the Trial. Complete the information on the trial registration page and click on Submit Form. You will receive an email with your LabTech free trial registration and activation key. In the email, there will be a link to download the LabTech installer file, and you will want to click on that link to download the executable file to install LabTech. Another place to download the LabTech server installer is here on our site when you are logged in with your support credentials that you created when registering for a trial. Click on the Login button in the top right corner of the page. Log in here with the username and password you created while registering during the process to download the trial. Once logged into our support page, over on the right-hand side under Main Menu, left-click on Current LabTech Download. Click on the blue download arrow. Click OK, indicating that items downloaded from the Exchange are not supported by LabTech software. And you see here we have a dialog box to save the LabTech MSP with the version number in the file name. We'll go ahead and save that. As you can see, the file is being downloaded to the specified location. After the LabTech installer file has been downloaded completely, we are now ready to begin the installation. I will browse to the directory where the file was downloaded and double-click on the installer file. Left-click to run it. I'm going to left-click to answer yes. I do want to install LabTech MSP 2011 server. Take a moment to review the README information, being sure to scroll all the way to the bottom, and left-click Next. We are now unpacking files for installation. On the Installation tab, you will need to re-enter your CD key and validate it once again to proceed with a fresh installation of LabTech. After your CD key has been entered, left-click Validate. Click OK to the CD key validation message. As this is a fresh install, I can leave all of the defaults checked and left-click Install LabTech Server. Notice the progress bar and you can see the grayed out text at the bottom indicating which component is currently being downloaded. Files have been downloaded, and now the installation is beginning. The installation of the LabTech server is complete. Left-click Close. The MySQL connector must be installed to continue the installation and setup process. Left-click Next to proceed. Leaving Typical selected, left-click Next to proceed. Ready to install the MySQL connector. Left-click Install. The MySQL connector installation is complete. Left-click Finish. Simultaneously, two things happen. Your internet browser comes up to the LabTech support pages for installation and setup, as well as the LabTech Control Center login. On the installation and setup page, we have information about installation and setup, including the Control Center and agent, a shortcut to a video about LabTech remote control and troubleshooting, as well as some configurations. In this section, we have information about how to get additional support for LabTech, including contacting LabTech directly, accessing our forums, accessing our online documentation, as well as our flash video demonstrations. See here at the bottom of this page our diagram of how does it all fit together with LabTech, including a shortcut here to view a larger version of the PDF diagram. After you have reviewed the information on this startup page, you are now ready to log into LabTech for the first time. Additionally, after the installation has completed, the LabTech Marketplace will launch. You can left-click Yes to be taken to the Marketplace directly, and here the Marketplace Startup Check is launching. Notice the feedback message that one or more critical items are out of date or missing. We can select Yes to add them to the update queue, or No, they can always be added later. In this case, I will click No. Here we are in the LabTech Marketplace screen. If we wanted to right now, we could go through and make some evaluations about which of these items we wanted to update. This will actually be addressed at a later time during our configuration how-to video, so I will simply close the Marketplace at this time. This concludes LabTech software installation instructions. Welcome to LabTech version 2011 Mail Redirector Training. In the Control Center, left-click on Dashboard. Left-click the Config tab. Here on the System tab, we have information about the LT share. The server local path is the local directory on the LabTech server where the LT share resides. The remote path is the drive letter that needs to be specified for any machine that is going to map to the LT share. History retention contains information about how far we are going to retain historical data for agents that have sent their information to LabTech. The LabTech mail function is configured to provide administrators the ability to send and receive messages. The support email address is going to be the address LabTech is monitoring to read messages and turn them into tickets if that functionality is being used. It is also the from address for any notification messages sent from the LabTech server. The SMTP address is the IP address or fully qualified domain name of the mail server LabTech is using to send outbound messages. Here we can specify the port as well as the username and password to send through that server if necessary. The POP address is also the IP address or fully qualified domain name of the mail server we are using to monitor for inbound messages if that functionality is being used. Once again, we can specify the port, username, and password for that mail server and the account we want to access. The LabTech redirector function is configured in the Control Center to intercept requests for files and printers and direct them to the appropriate remote device if applicable. Again, in the host name field, we can either use the IP address or fully qualified domain name. The port will be port 70 by default, but it can be customized to suit your business needs. The passcode is simply a layer of security, and this can be changed as well. The email alert control section is where we can configure the email subject of any alert messages sent by the LabTech server. This checkbox allows you to insert the LabTech URL in the message, and this checkbox will send internal monitor success messages as well. Left-click on Save to save the changes you have made to the LabTech Mail and Redirector screen. This concludes LabTech version 2011 Mail Redirector Training. Welcome to LabTech version 2011 Control Center Overview Training. Here in the menu bar we have Main, which allows you to navigate to different portions within LabTech. View, Heads-up display. The status button, we can set the status to be in or out according to what your status is as your technician. Active time slips will show you all active time slips for the currently logged in technician. We also have access to links, tools, and help. Here in the main toolbar, we've got a refresh screen to refresh your LabTech dashboard view. That's actually going to refresh your navigation tree. The dashboard button will take you to the dashboard where configuration is performed. The Tech Center is an overview for technicians. Patch Manager is where we handle patching of hotfixes. Here's a shortcut to monitors. The Alerts and Info screen allows you to see alerts and information about machines that have alerts on them in a centralized view. Here in Timesheets, we can access the timesheets for currently open tickets or any tickets that have had time entered against them. Here's a shortcut to the Tickets window. We can click on Search to access the search functionality. And here is where we can access messages within the LabTech Control Center. LabTech Control Center, here in the navigation tree, gives you the ability to go into the Options screen. Operations contains shortcuts or another way to navigate to various functions in the Control Center. Admin contains users, schedules, reports, templates, and other administrative information. Scripts provides access to scripts, which are one of the primary functions of LabTech. Contacts contains system contacts for monitor notification purposes. Clients. The client is viewed as your customer or its own billable entity. Groups. Groups are an organizational tool used to deliver services to multiple clients. We also have shortcuts here for alerts, alerts generated by monitors within LabTech, scheduled scripts, any scripts that have been scheduled by the LabTech system, and searches. This allows for multiple layers of searching within LabTech. Additionally, here in the right-hand pane, we have the status screen. The status screen is going to contain certain information about the status of your LabTech system. It's also going to show any commands that are sent to a machine. If you double-click on a computer or an agent and are performing functions, those commands will show up here in the status screen. Down here at the bottom in the status bar, you can see how many clients we are monitoring, as well as how many agents we have. We also have shortcuts to My Tickets and My Timers in the lower right. Back in the navigation tree at the very bottom of the screen, we have other shortcuts, such as View All, which is our current screen, and our Data Views, which are a very useful tool to be able to view a lot of data in an overview. Another shortcut to the My Ticket screen. Here's a shortcut to My Clients. We have a Client Summary screen, another shortcut to view our alerts, and the Sensor screen as well. This concludes LabTech version 2011 Control Center Overview. Welcome to the LabTech Training How-To video about how to change the system password. The system password within LabTech is an additional layer of security to ensure that the agents that are reporting into your LabTech system are indeed supposed to be reporting in to your LabTech system. By changing the system password, you can prevent undesired agents from reporting into LabTech, which could have a negative impact on licensing, and certainly there is no reason to be managing agents that do not belong to your clients. Here in the Control Center, left-click on Tools and left-click on Change System Password. Notice how it is already populated with the old system password. The default system password out of the box is, as displayed, our password, one word. Enter the new password and click OK. You can see the message that indicates that all computers will be updated, and this will take some time. Left-click OK, and this concludes the LabTech training video on how to change the system password. Welcome to the LabTech how-to video to change the default admin password. In all freshly installed LabTech systems, the default password for the admin user will be admin. It is recommended to change this immediately after installing LabTech, as it is a security risk for any LabTech system that is accessible to the public. Left-click in the navigation tree to expand admin. Left-click to expand users. We can modify the admin user by double-clicking it when it is selected here in the tree, or by right-clicking it and going to Users and left-clicking on Modify User. Here we will specify a new password and confirm it, and save the changes we have made. Notice the pop-up message that we will be forced to restart the Control Center after making these changes. Left-click OK. This concludes the how-to video to change the default admin password. Welcome to LabTech User Administration Training. User Administration Training provides you with the information necessary to add, modify, delete, and set permissions for each user. A user typically represents a member of your support staff. To access users, in the Control Center, left-click to expand admin in the navigation tree, and users is at the top of the list. We can left-click to expand users and see the two that come built in. We can also right-click on users and choose to add a new user. On the General tab, we have information such as their username and password. One thing to remember about creating a user in LabTech is that the username is case sensitive as well as the password. The Permissions tab contains information about what permissions we're going to be granting this user when they're in LabTech. The Groups and Clients tab controls which clients they have access to, as well as which groups. After setting permissions on the Permissions tab, as well as access to groups and clients, you can click on the View Permissions button to see a list of all permissions this user has been given. To modify an existing user, you can double-click on them here in the navigation tree. We have the same tabs present: General for their general information such as their email address, their permissions, and again, what groups and clients they have access to. This will be useful when new groups are added or new clients, so that you will need to go in here and modify this user to give them access to the respective groups and clients that they will need to do their job. To delete a user, you can right-click on them in the tree, go to Users, and Delete. Now let's go through the steps to create and modify and delete a user. Once again, we're going to right-click on Users, go to Users, Add New User. The required fields are indicated here at the top. When you're adding a user, you're going to need to specify some user class here for them to be able to log into the system. Right-click in the user classes field, select the desired user class. When you click on that class, you can see the permissions associated with that class. You also need to go to the Groups and Clients tab and give them access to at least one group and at least one client. I will specify that they have access to this client, and I will give them access to the All Agents group, which means they are going to be able to see machines in LabTech that are parts of the All Agents group. And my new user has been added. Here's the new user in the tree. Let's go ahead and double click on it. Let's say the user tries to go into the control center and they've forgotten their password. I've changed their password. Perhaps as well, we need to give them access to more than one group. Maybe we have started adding clients to the Gold Service Plan group. Now I'm going to give this user access to the Gold Service Plan group. When we click on View Permissions, we can now see what clients they have access to, what groups, and what functions they have access to in the navigation tree, as well as their scripts and contacts. We can save these changes to this new user. To delete a user, right-click on them in the tree, go to Users, Delete User. Yes, we do want to delete them. This concludes LabTech User Administration Training. Welcome to LabTech Client Administration Training. Each client represents one of your customers, a billable entity to which you will be providing managed services. In the Control Center, we can access clients in the navigation tree. Right-click on clients to see options such as adding a new client. Additionally, LabTech comes with one built-in. Left-click to expand clients, and right-click on the existing client to see options such as modifying the client, deleting the client, linking the client to a group, or sending the web password email. Let's explore the steps involved in creating a new client. Once again, I will right-click on Clients, go to Clients, Add New Client. Here we will specify the name of the client. We can fill out other information such as the company, address. We can specify a support contract. You can have a global new ticket notification email address. And the Notes field is a great repository for any notes that are specific to this client. Let's double-click on an existing client to see the tabs they're in. Here on the General tab is once again similar information to what you entered when you were creating the client. The Info tab contains a lot of information that can be configured per client and that can be integrated into other functionality within LabTech. The Passwords tab is very important. That is where you store passwords that are associated with this client. Perhaps they will be administrative credentials that might be used by a script or by the probe to attempt to push the agent to machines at that client. The Documents tab contains just that. Documents that are stored on the LabTech server that are pertinent to this client. Here we can see time slips and contacts associated with this client. The Tickets tab contains any tickets that are currently associated with this client. There is also the Projects tab. Product Keys contains product keys for installed software that has been captured by LabTech, as well as installed software that you want LabTech to install for machines at this client. License Management is where you can track licensing associated with installed software at this client. And here on the Permissions tab, you can control what permissions are associated with access to this client. This concludes LabTech Client Administration Training. This concludes Module 1 in the Onboarding Series training. Additional training will follow on the topics indicated below.